Jordan Peterson sat down with Michael Malice for a conversation that was always fun and unpredictable. They discussed the terrible attractiveness of virtue signaling and the motivation for deep evil. Michael had studied totalitarian evil and was curious about the more mundane forms of pathology. They also talked about Michael's shifting views on the marginal and the creative, and how the center can be dissolved in a manner that's cataclysmic. Their conversation turned to the topic of self-actualization, which Michael thought was only possible when you're in a position to be yourself without having to subordinate yourself to others. Jordan pointed out that self-actualization isn't just about being yourself, but about conducting yourself in a manner that enables harmony to exist at all levels. He also mentioned that our definitions of mental health are flawed because we think of sanity as a characteristic of the self, but it's probably something like harmony between all levels. Michael brought up the idea that self-actualization is not possible in certain careers, like being a bank teller, where you have to subordinate yourself to the company. Jordan agreed, saying that everyone starts out as a slave, and that self-actualization is only possible when you're in a position to make choices that align with your values and goals. Michael shared a personal anecdote about working at Goldman Sachs as a help desk, where he was better than everyone else on the team because he knew how to be helpful. He understood that people who called the help desk didn't want an answer, but reassurance. He also mentioned that he didn't want to do overtime because he wanted to go home and work on his writing. Jordan pointed out that Michael's decision to prioritize his writing over overtime was because he was investing in his future. Michael agreed, saying that he identified as a writer and a creative person, and that's what motivated him to prioritize his writing. Jordan compared this to the distinction between a slave and a sojourner, where a slave is forced to work against their will, but a sojourner is able to make choices that align with their values and goals. Jordan also mentioned that he's touring with his wife, Tammy, and that he's trying to take complex philosophical and theological problems and make them practically applicable. He invited listeners to come to one of his shows, saying that they're positive events that people find helpful. He also mentioned that he's trying to take listeners on a journey to understand complex ideas and make them applicable to their lives. If you enjoyed this episode till now and want to listen to the complete episode, please subscribe to Quick Podcast Summaries on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for just $1 per month, and you can save an average of 20 hours per week of your precious time. It's a fantastic deal to save time and stay informed.